Good morning, it's Matt Bisogno here from tennisprofits.com. Long time no speak. Hopefully Paul's been keeping you entertained since I was last recording a video. The reason for this video is because I want to share with you a couple of updates that we've made to the match stats pages within Tennis Profits. So if we go to this match between Swiatek and Kudermetova, probably said that wrong. We can see obviously all the usual stuff at the top of the page. Now this filters area has got a lot busier. We've got more stuff in here. If you don't use the filters, or if you just if you have them set on a preset and you just don't want to you don't want to see that clutter, you can just click the hide filters and just use the top of the page. Obviously if you are using them, then you need them there. So this match is a hard court match, and so I've set hard court main tour. It's on the main tour, and I'm looking at the last 1 year. All of the other new filters, which I'll talk through now, are set to all, and those filters are handedness. So we now have the choice to look at performance against players who play with the same hand, so right-handed versus right-handed, left-handed versus left-handed, different hand, right v left or left v right, and all. Default is all. If you're interested in a player's performance against other players from the same country, you can click the nationality button. Those have been in for a few weeks now, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe. We've added a couple more down here as well. So we've got opponent official ranking range and opponent odds range. Now, let me just quickly talk about these. The challenge with these two filters was that, whereas with the other ones, handedness and nationality, it kind of applies to both players explicitly. So, for instance, in this case, they're both right-handed players, you can see here. So the same applies. And if one was right and one was left, then different would apply. It would apply to both players. Whereas if we put here in these range boxes, if we put, for instance, ranking range 1 to 20, where Swiatek is ranked number 2 and Kudermetova, easy for me to say. In this case, actually, they are ranked in the same bracket, so we could use one button, but usually that's not the case. Usually you've got number 2 playing, let's say, number 45 or number 145, and one button doesn't really fit for both players. So what we've done is we've introduced these ranges whereby if you select the range option for, in this case, official ranking, so in the example where one player is ranked number 2 and the other player is ranked 45, what this range button would do would say, right, I will show the matches where the opponent for the number 2 player was ranked in the 45 range, which is 21 to 50, and I will show the matches for the ranked 45 player for the opponent who was in the number 2 range, which is 1 to 20. So that's a very verbose way of explaining that we needed a single button that could apply to both players. The alternative would be that you'd have to check this data twice per match. You'd have to do it once for the first player, once for the second player, and we wanted to avoid that if we could. So we have these ranges. Official rank is 1 to 20, 21 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to 250, 251 to 500, and 501 plus. The same principles apply exactly to the opponent odds range. So in this case, in this match, Swiatek is 1.08 and Kudermetova is 8. So here we're going to, if we select this, we'd get Swiatek's matches where the opponent was 4.51 plus in odds, and for Kudermetova we'd get the matches where her opponent was 1.25 or shorter. So let's actually do that, and then you can see what I'm talking about. So if I select the opponent odds range here, we've now got a truncated list of matches, and what this basically tells us is that pretty much every time Swiatek plays, she's a short price and her opponent is a long price. Hence, she's got loads of matches in her data set. By contrast, Veronica is usually a much shorter price than she is here. So she's kind of 8 in this match, but usually she would be shorter than 4.51 plus. And the player that she'd be playing would be longer than 1.25, which is the range that this suits. So I can evidence this. What I'm going to do, and I suggest you do this actually, because it's kind of useful to understand the breakdown of these numbers. If you just click on any of these little download icons, so I'm going to click on this one here, and it's going to open up an Excel file for both players as such. Now let me just quickly reframe this. Okay, so what we have here is, if we just go back to the to this sheet, so the top part is Swiatek's 29 matches, and we can see that remember, these are the matches where her opponent was in the same range as today's opponent's odds. So in this case, 8 is 4.51 plus. So these 29 matches are when Swiatek was playing an opponent whose odds were 4.5 to 1 or bigger than 4.5 to 1. And we can see that in this spreadsheet that comes from that click I did. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, hopefully this will work. Problem with live TV. Right, I'm going to sort these matches by odds here. So you can see that basically these are all 1.25 or shorter for Swiatek, but materially, actually I've sorted by the wrong one. What I meant to do was sort these largest to smallest. So you can see that these matches here were all 4.51 plus. See, the odds of the opponent were all, the shortest one in fact here is 5.4, which is obviously bigger than 4.51. And then in the matches, the 4 matches that Swiatek lost, you can see again that the odds are all above 4.51. Now, what was interesting in this particular match is that the single match where Kudermetova was playing an opponent who was a very short price was actually when she was playing Swiatek, and I was struggling to understand why isn't this match showing in Swiatek's list as well. And then I realized that although Swiatek is 1.25, so that is correctly displaying as Kudermetova's opponent, her own price, Veronica's price, is not bigger than 4.5. It's 4.43. So if this had been 4.53, for instance, then I would have expected this row to display for both players, because it's a previous match between the two and the odds ranges would have fit. I hope that makes sense. I've kind of, as usual, I've laboured the point, but I just wanted you to understand how these spreadsheet downloads map against the data that you're seeing here with the sort of line by line information on them. It's very good to look at that and to understand kind of, when players might be susceptible. And in actual fact, if we look at this, Swiatek's record against players in the sort of single figure range is not brilliant. So she's won, that's 10 matches, but she's lost 4 matches as well. So she's lost 4 out of 14 at this kind of price point, which is interesting when looking at the odds range stuff. Now, head to head, she's absolutely battered Kudermetova every time she's played her, and perhaps there's no obvious reason to suggest she won't do that again, but just the price range thing I thought was kind of interesting there. Official ranking works in exactly the same way, so I could I could select that button as well, and then we'll get fewer matches here where this is the case. And if I put the odds range one back, then we'll get slightly more matches again, as you can see. So these are the new filters. I think they're very valuable if you want to know how certain players perform in certain situations. The best way to get used to them is to play around with them, see what works for you when you're doing your research, and I hope that you'll enjoy them and that they'll be able to help you to trade better, to more accurately understand the chances of the two players in a match that you're looking at. Okay, this is Matt Bisogno saying thank you for watching and goodbye.